wanted to make this video for men who are lost. Sometimes I get messages or comments from men who've just been divorced, or they've just found the red pill, and they don't really know what to do next. And it's a situation we all find ourselves in. I think one of the reasons why men get lost is because they don't know who they are. And that sounds like an obvious statement to make. But if you look at men coming out of relationships or marriages, they've invested half of their identity in another person. They were the other half of a couple and probably didn't really know themselves anyway. They never took the time to get to know who they are as an individual. So when they come out of these marriages, they are just lost. They don't know what to do with themselves. They don't know really what they like to do or who they are. They don't know what to identify themselves as. They've never really had an individual personality. And it's the same for men who find the red pill and they go their own way. They find all this knowledge and it all makes sense. And they do the cost-benefit analysis and they look at the risks and they say, I'm going to go in this direction. But there are no real signposts. And everybody says, find a sense of purpose, find some meaning, get some hobbies. But how do you do that? If men can't find a sense of purpose, if they can't find anything meaningful to do with their lives, they get stuck. And we see a lot of men find the knowledge, they claim to be awake, and they are to an extent. But they get stuck focusing on the problem. Why is it like this? What caused this? What social influences caused this? What economic influences caused this? What cultural influences caused this? Is it done by religion? Is it a sex or gender issue? When you go your own way, these things you learn to understand, but you have to reach a point of acceptance where you say they can't be fixed. There is no solution to these problems. The only solution is to walk away, to go your own way. And if you keep ruminating over these things, over this lifestyle that you imagined you were owed, maybe you thought you were entitled to live a certain way. In life, there are inequalities. There are some things that are available to you and some things that aren't. And when you accept the fact that you can't have everything you want, when you have choices but you also have constraints, when you accept that, you become a lot more realistic in your worldview and in your expectations of life and people, the way they treat you. You won't be so disappointed because you won't expect more than people are willing to give. And if you can move one step further and say, I don't rely on people to complete me, to make me who I am as a man, and then you've got that disconnect. Then you have no expectations, less chances for you to be disappointed when people let you down or they don't live up to your unrealistic expectations, because they are unrealistic. And it's through no fault of our own. And we all know it's just the way we were conditioned to be. Things overtook us. That conditioning didn't last an entire lifetime. You were conditioned to be a certain way. It didn't happen. And for some of us, it never happened. There wasn't even a brief period where it worked, where we can say, being the man they told me to be actually worked and benefited me. And I didn't feel like I was being used or manipulated. Some of us can say, without doubt, I've never experienced a time when being the man that they told me to be, the man they expected me to be, was a good thing. It never was. So if we get stuck there in that place, why doesn't it work? Why are women like that? Why do they take our kids away? Why do they treat men like disposable utilities? All of this, why? They just do. That's just the way it is. And it's not going to change. So rather than focusing on these problems, I want to offer solutions. And these are my experiences. By doing the introspection, I've found that things are all coming together. They're all making sense. Every piece of the puzzle you look for slowly makes some kind of complete worldview that is a lot more realistic than the one we had before we came to this place. There are 3 existential questions that everybody asks themselves, and they're more likely to be in some kind of life crisis when they've lost their sense of direction or sense of identity. And the 3 questions are: who am I? What do I want? And what's my purpose in life? Now, they sound like cliches. Who am I? What do I want? What's my purpose in life? But if you ask yourself those questions, you will find answers and you'll find a sense of direction. The men who are lost, if we go back to the beginning, the men who are lost, they ask themselves, who am I? What happened to me? Did I ever know who I was, who I am? What do I like to do? What do I identify as? Am I just my job title, my career, my hobby, a footballer, a skydiver, a mechanic, a firefighter? Is that who I am? Who am I really? And to answer that question, we've got to stop and think, what did they want me to be? And what have I become? That's why some men are lost. They became someone who was moulded by society, by everybody else, by the media, by their family, by their friends, by all of these expectations placed on a man. That's who they came to be. And when it didn't work, as we know it doesn't, they're left there in no man's land with that permanent look of disbelief, saying, who the fuck am I? Who am I? Because they never took the time to ask themselves. They were always trying to be who everybody else wanted them to be, who everybody else expected them to be, demanded them to be. And if you weren't that person, you were told you're a bad man. You failed, and you were made to feel guilty. So you carried on trying to be that man they told you to be. And if you didn't live up to their expectations, they punished you. So you never took the time to stop and think, who am I? So who are you? Not who they want you to be. Who are you really? You got lost in a marriage. You got lost in a relationship. You got lost in the family courts. You got lost in prison. You got lost in the military. You got lost in your career. You got lost in the education system. So who are you? And the next question is, what do you want? What do you want? When you know who you are, you have to ask yourself, what do I really want? Do I want the things they tell me I should have? The car, the house, the woman, the bank balance, all of these things? You might want those things. Do you want those things? Or are you just wanting things that you're expected to want, that project success or status? Because really you've become ego-driven. You've got a socially driven ego. They told you you have to compete. You have to be the man. You have to be bigger and better than that man. Otherwise you're not a real man. You don't measure up. You need a bigger car. You need more money. You need to be stronger. You need to spend more time in the gym. You need more women, more notches on your bedpost. But is that what you really wanted? And did those things benefit you? Have you wasted time, money, energy on these things, only to find yourself lost? To come to this place and say, who am I? What do you really want? Do you want women? Now we have to be realistic. We have to go back to choices and constraints. You want a wife? You want a good wife? A loyal wife? One that cooks for you, cares about you, gives you sex all the time? You have to be real. Those women aren't out there. There are choices and constraints, and you have to be realistic or you're going to be disappointed. If you just want to go off and bang chicks, you have to be realistic about the potential consequences. Those are the choices you make, and now you've taken this red pill, you're aware. You know the dangers. But do you know yourself? Who are you listening to? Are you listening to the reckless mind, the limbic mind, which says, go out there, get your fix, get your chemical high, but it doesn't remind you of the consequences? Or are you listening to the rational mind that says, don't go out there, don't chase women, don't waste your time, don't waste your energy, your money, don't take those risks in life because there are serious consequences? And the rational mind will give you a long-term view. It will give you choices, more positive solutions. Instead of going out there chasing women or doing the things that society expects you to do or other men goad you into doing. Instead of doing those things, Your rational mind will say, why don't you pick up a book? Why don't you look at your investment portfolio? Why don't you go to your place of worship? Why don't you go to the gym because you want to be fit for you, not to impress the ladies or compete with your friends? You like going to the gym. That's your thing. What do you want? Do you want money? There's advice out there from men in this community. They will help you. You want to exercise? Keep you in a positive frame of mind? What do you want? Do you want autonomy? You want to go off grid? You want a ghost? You want to find yourself? Do you want possessions? Do you want to be a minimalist and get rid of your possessions? Do you want contentment? Do you want freedom, peace? And do you want to be safe from the laws which discriminate against you as a man? These things will give you a strong sense of identity. You'll find yourself. And then there's the old cliche. What's my purpose in life? The meaning of life is to give life meaning. All of these old cliches. But no one tells you how. And it's so specific to you as an individual that you have to figure it out for yourself. We can't all want the same things, or achieve the same goals, or find peace or happiness in the same places. So to find out what your purpose in life is, you need to know first, who am I? And secondly, what do I want? And then you'll see how they're all linked. Your purpose in life could come as a result of doing the things you want to do. Your purpose in life could be long-term goals, or just to be happy, just to have some peace, maybe a sense of achievement. And what do you get from that sense of achievement? Do you get an inner sense of achievement? Are you going to be able to give yourself recognition for your achievements and reward yourself? Are you going to be able to say, I don't need praise or recognition from anybody else. I'm not doing this to please others. I'm not doing this to impress others. I'm not doing it for the good of others. I'm doing this for me. Inner sense of achievement that doesn't rely on the validation of everyone around me. If we fulfill our purpose in life, our true purpose in life, not the socially expected purposes that are placed upon us and often lead men to hurt themselves and injure themselves and kill themselves because they didn't live up to everybody's expectations. You know, I truly believe the reason why the male suicide rate is so high is because the expectations placed on men cause emotional suffering. And if men don't live up to those expectations, they are racked with guilt, and they are ashamed, and they are made to feel like failures, and their own altruistic nature is crushed. They can't be the man they want to be, because nobody will let them be that man, so they give up. And rather than be this disposable man that we're all expected to be, some of them just accelerate towards their demise, because their sense of purpose, their sense of achievement, their sense of who they are and what they're supposed to want is taken away from them. So there's nothing left. Drink yourself to death. Kill yourself. You know, you can't have this life that you were told you wanted. And they never let you have the time to yourself to figure it out. They don't want us asking ourselves these questions, because we might figure out that we don't fucking want what they expect us to want, what they demand from us. We don't want those fucking things. And if we dare to want those things, we could never have them. And it accelerates us towards our own demise. It finishes men. It's Thanatos. It's the death drive. If you haven't fulfilled your purpose as a man, you may as well be dead. And this is what these men are saying. You won't let me be a man. I've had enough. And we found freedom. We found a place where we can say, I'm not going to be that man you want me to be. I'm not going to be the man you're fucking demanding me to be. I'm going to find myself. I'm going to find out who I am, what I want, and what's my purpose in life. What's my true purpose in life? Not this bullshit life they've constructed for us. Not that fucking shit. Fuck nature. Fuck nurture. There's a whole new life inside you. And none of us have taken the time to look inside and say, what do I fucking want? And there's a reason why you've got to find yourself. If you don't take the time to find yourself when you're lost, if you don't take the time to sit down and ask yourself, who am I? What do I want? What's my purpose in life? If you don't take that time to sit down, you will go back. The old temptations will draw you back, and people use the term backslide. And when you backslide, you lose any potential freedoms you could have found. You lose any accumulated wealth, any possessions. Your health will decline. Your mental and physical health will decline. You will become depressed. You will feel like a failure because you couldn't even do this. And it's because they wouldn't let you do this. Let me tell you now, you're allowed to live for yourself. You're allowed to be your own man. And nobody's got the right to tell you that you're being selfish or you shouldn't go your own way. Look at the depression men suffer. Look at the physiological effects on men as a result of depression and feelings of failure and guilt. Men walk around with this weighing on their conscience. I didn't live up to their expectations. Fuck their expectations. What about you? What about your life? Going your own way is about you. Fuck what people think. Fuck what people say. Fuck what people expect you to do. Live for yourself.